this photograph of two close friends appeared completely harmless at first glance, until historians uncovered a hidden and deeply disturbing truth. Dr. Natalie Chen carefully adjusted the settings on her digital scanner as she prepared to process another batch of daguerreotypes from the museum's newly acquired Montgomery collection. As the senior curator of photography at the National Museum of American History, she had examined thousands of historic images over the years. Very few managed to surprise her anymore. But the next photograph in line made her pause in a way she had not felt in years. The 1853 image showed two teenage girls sitting side by side on an elegant wooden bench placed on a wide plantation porch. Sunlight seemed to fall softly across the scene, giving it a calm and almost peaceful feeling. On the left sat a white girl, around 14 years old, her blonde hair styled in perfect ringlets, wearing a formal Victorian dress decorated with fine lace and careful stitching. And every detail of her appearance reflected wealth, care, and social status. To her right sat a black girl, around 15 years old, also dressed neatly. Her dress was simpler, but still unusually refined for an enslaved person, if that was indeed her condition. "What an unusual scene for that period," Natalie said quietly to herself, leaning closer to the image. The two girls were seated very close together, their shoulders almost touching, their posture relaxed in a way that suggested familiarity. In most historical photographs from that era, the difference in power between white and black individuals was made very clear. Servants stood behind. They did not sit beside. They were positioned lower, separate, and visibly unequal. But here, the two appeared almost like equals. Natalie gently placed the fragile photograph into the high-resolution scanner, taking extra care not to damage its delicate surface. The Montgomery collection was well known among historians for offering rare glimpses into life in the American South before the Civil War. This particular photograph had already been published in several books and articles as an example of rare interracial closeness, even friendship, during a time defined by strict social divisions. As the enhanced digital version slowly appeared on her screen, Natalie leaned forward and began her usual careful inspection. She zoomed in on the girls' faces, noting the clarity of their expressions. She moved across the fabric of their dresses, examining stitching, folds, and shadows. She recorded small signs of aging, cracks, and fading areas in her notes. Then, as her focus moved toward the lower portion of the photograph, something unusual caught her attention. There, just beneath the edge of the black girl's dress, a faint metallic shape could be seen. "Hold on," Natalie whispered. She adjusted the brightness, then the contrast, then increased the sharpness. The unclear shape slowly became more defined. At first, it looked like a native anklet or perhaps a piece of jewelry. But as the details sharpened, the truth became impossible to ignore. It was a metal shackle, not a rough iron chain, but a carefully crafted piece, shaped and decorated to resemble jewelry. It wrapped tightly around the girl's ankle, locked in place. Elegant in appearance, but unmistakably a restraint. Natalie felt a cold wave move through her chest. The photograph that had once been described as a symbol of friendship suddenly revealed something far darker. What looked like closeness was actually control. What seemed like kindness was hiding captivity. "Dr. Whitaker needs to see this," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper in the quiet lab. Later that evening, as she reviewed her notes, Natalie could not stop thinking about the black girl's face. Earlier, she had seen calmness, maybe even comfort. Now, looking again, she saw something entirely different. There was a stillness in the girl's eyes that felt heavy, controlled, and almost trapped. It was the look of someone holding back emotion, of someone who had learned to stay quiet. The museum archives were located in a temperature-controlled basement, filled with endless rows of labeled boxes and carefully preserved documents. The next morning, Natalie went there determined to find any records connected to the photograph. After hours of searching, she found a worn folder. "Here it is," she murmured, carefully opening it. Inside were documents from 1972, when the museum first received the photograph from the descendants of the Montgomery family. A typed letter described the image simply as Caroline Montgomery with her companion Harriet, 1853. Dr. James Whitaker, the museum's director of historical research, joined her as she shared her findings. "Companion," he repeated thoughtfully. "That word hides a lot." Natalie nodded and pointed to a handwritten note added later. The family claimed Harriet was a favored servant, treated almost like part of the family. James gave a small, doubtful smile. That's how it's often described. What about the shackle? He asked. It's not mentioned anywhere, Natalie replied. I don't think anyone noticed it before. They continued digging through plantation records. Among lists of enslaved individuals treated as property, one entry stood out clearly. Purchased girl, age 13, $800. Intended companion for Miss Caroline. James read it slowly. That sounds very intentional. Further searching led them to a personal diary written by Elizabeth Montgomery, Caroline's mother. One entry read, "Acquired a suitable companion for Caroline today. The girl is well-mannered and speaks clearly. Caroline is pleased with her new friend. Measures have been taken to ensure her obedience. A special arrangement has been prepared that is both secure and appropriate." Natalie felt a deep discomfort reading the words. The special arrangement must be the shackle, she said. They describe it as if it's something good, and a tea ice made things even clearer. The girls spent the afternoon reading together. Harriet is learning quickly, though care must be taken that she does not forget her place. The gold decoration was a fine idea, presentable enough for public outings. Natalie slowly closed the diary. This is not just slavery, she said quietly. This is forced friendship. She was made to act like a companion while being physically restrained. James nodded. We need to see if this happened elsewhere. Days later at the National Archives, Natalie searched through interviews from formerly enslaved people recorded in the 1930s. After long hours, she found something that made her heart race. An interview with an elderly woman named Harriet Johnson. The details matched perfectly. I was bought to be a companion, the woman had said. They dressed me nicely and taught me a little reading, but I wore a gold chain on my ankle for years. Natalie read aloud, her voice steady but quiet. They called it an A bracelet. Said I was lucky. But a chain is still a chain. She called me her friend, but friends don't own each other. The words were simple but powerful. Harriet described following Caroline everywhere, sitting with her, reading with her, attending events beside her, all while being silently restrained. The photograph was taken on her birthday, Harriet had said. She was proud of it. She never saw what it really showed. Harriet later escaped during the Civil War and lived long enough to share her story. She survived, Natalie said softly. She made sure her story was heard. That moment changed everything. Natalie gathered a research team and began examining other photographs. Using digital tools and careful analysis, they discovered dozens of similar cases. Hidden shackles, disguised restraints, chains made to look like jewelry. This was a system, said Dr. Marcus Johnson, a practice designed to control both body and mind. Records from different plantations confirmed it, and wealthy families bought enslaved girls to act as companions for their daughters, dressing them well, teaching them basic skills, but always keeping control through hidden restraints. It's emotional control, Natalie said. They were forced to perform friendship. When she presented the findings to the museum committee, the room was silent. This changes how we understand these images, she said. We have to tell the truth. After long discussions, the museum agreed to create a new exhibition, Hidden in Plain Sight. The exhibition opened months later to powerful reactions. Visitors stood in front of the photograph, now displayed with enhanced details revealing the hidden shackle. Many were shocked, some cried, others stood quietly thinking. Harriet's words were displayed beside the image, finally giving her a voice that had been ignored for over a century. 1 year later, the impact continued to grow. More hidden stories were discovered. Museums across the country began re-examining actions. One afternoon, Natalie received a package. Inside was Caroline's personal diary. One entry read, "Harriet seemed sad today. I told her she was lucky to be with me. She touched her ankle chain when she thought I did not see. I wish she did not have to wear it, but Mother says it is needed. I gave her a ribbon to make it look pretty." Natalie closed the diary slowly, her hands resting on its worn cover. The story was no longer simple. It was not just about cruelty, but about a system that shaped how people thought, how they justified harm, and how they hid it behind soft words and gentle appearances. She carefully placed the diary into an archival box. Then she looked once more at the photograph. An image that once seemed peaceful and innocent, but now, once truly understood, could never be seen the same way again.